Alright, so this lesson is on equations and geometric formulas. So this is taking geometry and adding algebra into it. So we're going to be talking about perimeter, area, and volume. Perimeter, and it's going to be of rectangles, squares, parallelograms, as well as rectangular solids. And solid implies 3 dimensions. So perimeter is, think of it as adding up all the sides, all the outsides. So think of it as adding all the sides of an object, whether it's a circle, a triangle, a square, a rectangle, parallelogram, whatever the shape is. Perimeter is adding all the sides, or measuring all the sides, or the outside area of it, outside spots. Anyway, perimeter is linear, so always in the answer you do not put a square or a cubed. It's just straight, like you're pulling out a tape measure and measuring something. The area, on the other hand, is looking at surface area. So it's looking at, for instance, on a square or a rectangle or a triangle, it's looking at the flat surface of it. And so it's looking at surface. And for area, you always want to put the measurement in squares. So you want a little exponent of a 2 after your answer, like feet squared or meters squared. Volume is 3-dimensional. And so it's talking about the inside. For instance, putting water in a fish tank. So the water going in is the volume. And volume, again, is 3-dimensional. So you always want to have your answer with a cubed after it. So again, volume is just how much you can fill into something, whether it's air or water, or but it's a 3-dimensional shape that you need to fill in. Maybe it's a sphere, or what I mentioned before, a rectangular solid. It's all that space inside the object. So for your homework, I had on the board on Thursday written down all the table of formulas. So I'm going to put them on here again, so that if you weren't here on Thursday or needed a review, you'll have them. So let's look at the formula for a perimeter first. So the perimeter for a rectangle, and a rectangle is an object that has 4 sides and all 4 corners are 90-degree angles. So a square can be a rectangle, but a rectangle could not be a square. But anyway, rectangle, it means the opposite sides are the parallel sides. Opposite sides are parallel, and the corners are 90-degree angles. And the formula for adding up the sides of a rectangle algebraically is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. So for instance, if I had a rectangle, and let's pretend that it's really to scale, and I have my length, and I have my width. Well, I have two lengths here and here, so I do 2 times that, and then I have my widths here and here. Square is the perimeter equals 4 times the side. And a square is just like a rectangle, except that all the sides are equal. And so that's why it's 4 times every side. So that's an S. Okay. And so for this homework, you only need to know rectangle and square for perimeter. So you might want to pause the video and make sure you've written these formulas down, square and perimeter. In fact, you can add it right onto your homework. Alright, the next thing you need to know is area. An area of a rectangle, again, is looking at the surface area. So the area of a rectangle, to find the area of a rectangle, it is length times width. And again, the area is the whole inside of here. Inside of here. And the example I gave on Thursday for instance, if we look at this rectangle here and we say it's a 3 by 4, and just imagine that all the lines and sides are even. If it's a 3 by 4, we do 3 times 4, which would equal 12. And you can even see it here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it's how many square, whatever it is, square feet, square inches, can fit inside of something. The other area you need to know for this homework, there's 2 other ones. The other one is a square, area of a square. And area of the square, you can use the length times width formula, or you can just say side squared, because the measurements are the same. For instance, if I had a 3 by 3, you can see 3 times 3, or 3 squared, is going to get me the same answer. And then the last thing that we need to know the area of is a parallelogram. And a parallelogram is just a fancy word. It looks similar to a rectangle, except that the corners aren't necessarily 90 degrees. In fact, it will have 2 angles that are 90 degrees or less, and the other 2 angles will be 90 degrees or more. So imagine in class, I used the side of a box, and I just imagine the box as getting a little bit squished on the side so that it kind of lays crooked. That's a parallelogram. And for a parallelogram, it's a little bit different. The area is not exactly the same to find the area. For instance, imagine this was my 3 by 4 box that got squished. The area is not going to equal 12, because the surface area has gotten smushed a bit. So to find area of a parallelogram, you need to find its 90-degree angle. So if I will do a little dash here, and then my little 90-degree mark, you can see it. For a parallelogram, you need to go by the base, which is this bottom. So you measure the whole length of the box. But then you go by the height, sorry, if there was a little glitch there. So you do the length, or excuse me, the base, which is 4, And then whatever this height is, let's pretend that this height is now a 2, the height on the inside. You would then do base, which is 4, times 2. So area of a parallelogram, again, is base times height, and you're looking for that 90-degree angle. And I could have drawn that 90-degree angle out here. It doesn't matter. It would have still been 2, and you still go by the inside 4 over here. Okay, hope that makes sense. The next thing I'm going to show you for your homework is volume. And we're going to just look at a rectangular solid. And so by using the word solid, I'm referring to a three-dimensional shape. So perimeter, remember, is measuring the whole outside of a two-dimensional shape. Area is looking at the surface area of one side, but volume is measuring the contents space inside of something. So imagine pouring water inside this box. That's a rectangular solid. And remember, if area is length times width, then all you have to do is multiply by one more dimension, thus a three-dimensional space, and that would be your height. So length times width times height. Length, width, height. And it doesn't matter which you call the length, what you call the width, what you call the height, as long as you have the three different ones. So I could have said length, width, height. Doesn't matter. So if this is a 3 by 4 by 5, so let's say it's 3 feet tall, 4 feet wide, and 5 feet long, you would then do 5 times 3 times 4, which is 60. And you would label that as feet cubed. Area would have been feet squared, and perimeter is just feet. Okay, you should now be able to fill in those question number 3 on your homework. Now I'm going to do just one question from each section of your homework. I will do number 4. And number 4 asks for 2 answers. In fact, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 all ask for 2 answers. And for letter A, on each one of them, you're just going to do the formula again. The formula that you put in number 3s, you're just going to rewrite them exactly the same. Don't put in any numbers in there, just rewrite the formula. And so if you read, it says, for each of the following, state the appropriate formula for perimeter. And then number 4 says, a rectangle with a length of 2 feet and a width of 7. We're doing perimeter of a rectangle, so you just write P equals 2L plus 2W. That's it. But then it says to find the actual perimeter. So for B, you actually have to plug in your numbers. So we're looking for perimeter, and we know that it's 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. And it gave us the length and width. The length says that it's 2, and the width is 7. So now we got to follow PEMDAS. PEMDAS says we do our multiplication before our addition, so we do 4 plus 14. And so what's our final answer going to be? 18. 18 feet is our answer. Notice I didn't put a square or a cube, it's just feet. It's just measuring around the outside of the rectangle. Okay, so that's what you need to do on each one of those. You put the formula whatever the formula is, and then you solve it. Number 10, 11, 12, and 13 have the same letter A, and on those you're going to write the formula again. So just like you did on 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you need to write the appropriate formula. 10A mentions a square, and the perimeter of a square is 4 times a side. So that's all you write for 10A. 11A is the same thing. It's perimeter of a square. Then it says, this time for B, look, it says find the unknown side. So this time we're not finding perimeter. We're just finding out what one of the sides are. So a square has a perimeter of 40 feet. Find the length of each side of the square. So this time they're giving us the perimeter. And it's our job to figure out what the side is. So I was able to put in for P, but this time we're solving for S. The last time we solved for P. Now we're solving for S. So it says 40 equals 4 times a side. So what do we need to do? Divide by 4 on each side. And this is feet. So my answer is 10 feet for 10B. Remember, try doing these on your own before I give away the answer. And then go back and see if you did it right. Then hit pause before I give away the answer on each one of these to see if you've done it right. Alright, number 12 is a little more tricky, so hopefully you went ahead and done number 11, just like number 10. Number 12 gets a little bit more tricky, and I give you a diagram there to help you out. So I give you this diagram that says your length is 4W, and your width is what that W is. W stands for width. So the length is 4 times the width. So here's kind of how it looks. I know it's not to scale, but you have to deal with it. Alright, so 12 says, if the perimeter is 30 feet, then find the width. And remember the formula for perimeter is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. Well, what is our, so we got it, it's 2 times the length plus 2 times the width, right? And so what did it give us this time for length? It gave us 4W as the length and W as the width. And so now our job is just to solve for W. So let's do PEMDAS. PEMDAS says we need to do our multiplication before our addition. And this time we're doing 2 times 4W, which is 8W, plus 2W. So 8 widths plus 2 widths equals 10 widths. And now we need to look at it as saying 10 times what number equals 30? Well, we divide by 10 on both sides, and that gives us a 3. So our answer for B, for the width, is 3 feet. Now let's go back and dissect this a little bit. I did so in class, and I will do so here for you. Now, the original problem said that we have a width. Right here, here's one width. Here's 2 widths. Get it again? 1W plus another W equals what? It equals 2W. Plus we have our length that is 4 W's. 1W, 2 W's, 3 W's, 4 W's, 5W, 6W, 7W, 8W. Ta-da! And so how many W's do we have all together? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 W's. Ta-da! So that's how we got it visually, so hopefully you can see that. And then it says, it turned out our W's are equal to 3. So you can always go back and check to say, wow, well if it's 3 feet, did it really work? Well, you just do 3 plus 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 3. If you add all those guys up together, you should get your 30. Which you do. Okay. Now, give number 13 a try. It's just like 12. Alright, 14 and 15 are kind of similar to 12 and 13. We're looking for length and width of each one. So now we're looking for 2 answers for 14 and 2 answers for 15. 14, both of these are perimeters of rectangles. And remember, perimeter equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. And what do we know? It tells us our length is 10W and width is just W. So let's plug it in. P equals 2 times some length plus 2 times some width. And it gave it to us as 10 times the width is our length and width is just width. So far so good. Okay, PEMDAS says we must multiply before we add. This gives us 20W plus 2W. 20 widths plus 2 widths equals 22 width. Oh, and I forgot to put my P is 66. So now it says 22 times what equals 66. So we divide by 22 on both sides. And that gives us, oh, a 3 again. And what is the 3? The 3 is the W. So remember, 2 answers for number 14. We want to put the width down as well as the length. So the width is 3 feet. And the length is 10 times the width. So 10 times 3 is 30 feet. And then you can go back in and punch in 30 plus 30 plus 3 plus 3, and you should get 66. Alright, now you try number 15 on your own. Number 16 and 17, that's a no-brainer. It's just asking you how many 1-inch squares can fit inside 50 square inches. So the answer to number 16 is just 50. So 22 should be as simple for you. 18 is asking for 2 answers. How many squares, and then how do you write the measurement of it? So 18, spare tiles with sides 1 foot in length are placed in a space that has an area of 50 square feet. So how many 1 foot squares are needed to fill the space? Well, that should be 50, right? Oh, that one you don't need to write a measurement, so just number those answers. So those ones should take you but a second. Okay, now we're moving into area. So the last ones were using the formula for perimeter. Now we're looking at solving ones with area. So just like on your prior ones, you're going to have an A and a B. If we look at number 20 here, A, you're going to just write in the formula for area. Number 20 says a driveway that is 18 feet by 22 feet. This implies that it's a rectangle. So we need to do the area, not perimeter, Nina, area of a rectangle, which is length times width. And then it says to find the area. Well, it gives it to us. It says it's an 18-foot by 22-foot space. So 18 times 22, that's a times symbol. Maybe I should put it as parentheses so you can see it. 18 times 22 is 396. But remember, you've got to tell me what that 396 is. Is it just feet? No, not just feet. Remember to do feet squared. If you don't give me that little square, I'm going to mark it wrong on the test. That's really important, because if the square's not there, you're just telling me linear, which is perimeter. Area represents the inside of the rectangle. Okay, so that's exactly how you do 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. 26, they give us the area and we need to figure out a side. So 26 and 27 are area of a rectangle, which is area equals length times width. And they give us this little picture, x 10 feet, and then it says the whole area is 60 feet. Notice the square there, right? So we're going to just try to find a side, so your answer won't have the square because we're just measuring the side. They already gave us the area. So maybe you can do this in your head. Really, it's just 10 times what number equals 60, right? But let's do it algebraically. So they gave us area, that's 60, and they gave us length, and they gave us the width, which is that x. So this is my length, this is my width. So we have 60 equals 10x. Divide by 10 on both sides, and that tells us that our width is 6. 6 what? 6 feet. Not 6 feet squared. 60 is our area. We're just looking for a side, which is just 6 feet. Okay, 27 is just like that. 28 is also the exact same. However, if you are nervous about working with parallelograms, you ought not be, but I will do one for you. Again, remember to hit pause, try it yourself, and then come back and see if you did it right. So area of a parallelogram is base times height, right? They gave us the area. It's 88. So we're just looking for the height here, right? So it's a linear measurement. No square will come in our answer. We just need linear measurement. Our base is 8. Our height is h. We don't know what h is yet, right? Base times height. 8 times what is 88? Well, we divide by 8 on both sides and get 11. So what is our final answer? 11 meters. So put the m there, but no square, because we're just finding a linear measurement. It's like taking the tape measure out and just measuring how tall it is. And that's it. So that's all you do for number 29 as well. The next one's 30, 31, 32, and 33. I'll ask you to find the area. So I want you to picture these guys as individual squares. So I'll do number 30 for you on here. So here's the easiest way to think of this. I give you a 3-inch by 4-inch, and over here I say it's 13 inches by 19 inches. Well, cut these guys into 2 individual squares so that we have the area of this guy plus the area of this guy. So the area of this guy is 4 times 3, which is 12, right? Plus the area of this guy, 13 times 19. And I said in class, I don't care if you use a calculator on this part. 13 times 19 equals 247. So the area inside here is 247. And the area inside here is 12. So we need to add these two guys together. So 247 plus 12 gives us a final answer of 259. And what is it? It's inches squared. So don't forget that square, because it's area. 31 is exactly the same, and 32 and 33, imagine them as 3 squares. So cut them into 3 different squares, not just 2. 30 and 31 are just 2 squares and rectangles shapes. So 32 and 33, think of them as 3 rectangles. I said squares, but I meant rectangles. Rectangles. And on those 32 and 33, you're going to have to find an extra measurement. So you're going to have to do a little, think of it as a puzzle. See if you can figure out what measurement's missing before you can figure out the area. Okay, 34. 34 asks for 2 answers. It asks how many cubes with 1-inch sides can be placed in a rectangular solid of 4-inch width. Length of 4 inches, width of 5 inches, length of 4 inches, width of 5 inches, and height of 2 inches. So how many? So what's the rule? For area, you multiply 4 times 5 times 2 times 2 equals 40. So the answer is 40 cubes. Then it says, and what is the volume of the rectangular solid? So I want 2 answers for 34, 2 answers for 35, and the second answer is going to be 40 inches cubed. So here's answer number 1, and here's answer number 2. 36 and 34, just find the volume. Okay. Last one, last section, right? Yes. 38, 39, 40, and 41. This one, the A, again, just like on those other ones that have an A and a B, you're just writing out the formula. And so on all of the A's, 38A, 40A, the 39A, the 41A, all of those guys, it's going to be the same formula you're going to write. You're going to write volume equals length times width times height. So go ahead and do that on every single one. B is where it gets a little trickier. Although I made these very easy for you. I didn't give you one where it shows the volume. I made these guys all very simple. You just need to find the volume on every single one. So just plug in the numbers. Length on number 38 is 11 times width times height. And I even said go ahead and use your calculator. So if you times these guys together, times, you should get 825. Now in your answer, make sure you give me the actual measurement. And these are inches cubed. So in your final answer, you need to write 825 inches cubed. That's simple enough. On the other ones, use yards cubed, feet cubed, and meters cubed. Okay, I hope that was helpful. Maybe some of you are watching this tonight before class. If you are, I will see you in the morning.